Beloved, today I want you to hear a truth so powerful that it will change how you see yourself, your life, and the world around you. It's already done. Not someday, not maybe, not if you are worthy. It is already done because God has already moved everything in your favor. Too often, we look around at our circumstances and think, I'm still waiting, my blessing hasn't arrived. But I tell you this, what you see is not the measure of what is real. The measure of reality is your consciousness, the assumption you hold in your mind and heart. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end of your desire, the infinite intelligence aligns everything for you. Understand this. Your imagination is the workshop of God. Every vision, every desire, every dream you have is first placed within you as an image. That image is not a suggestion, it is a promise. And when you live in the assumption that it is already real, the world bends itself to manifest that inner truth outwardly. Do not be deceived by appearances. The world may try to tell you no, later, or not yet, but these are illusions. God has already moved in your favor. Doors are opening behind the scenes. Paths are clearing without your effort. Circumstances are rearranging themselves even before your conscious mind can recognize them. Your task is simple yet profound. Feel it now. See yourself living the life you desire. Speak as though it is already yours. Walk in faith and let the invisible create the visible. Gratitude is your key. Feel thankful for the manifestation before it comes. Praise what is already accomplished. In that state, you are one with the movement of God, and nothing can resist your assumption. Remember, the universe is not waiting for your permission. It has already acted. What you perceive as delay is merely the time it takes for your senses to catch up to your inner reality. Your faith, your assumption, your feeling. That is the power that makes all things visible. So stand tall, speak with confidence, live as if the doors are already open. Everything you desire, every blessing, every favor, every breakthrough, it is already done. God has already moved. You are only required to claim it within. And when you do, you will see the invisible turn into the visible, the impossible become possible, and your life align perfectly with the divine flow that has always been working on your behalf. Believe it, feel it, live it. It's already done. Everything you experience in life begins in the realm of imagination. The world that surrounds you is not the creator of your circumstances, rather, it is a reflection of the assumptions you carry within. What you assume to be true, what you believe without doubt in the secret chambers of your mind, inevitably becomes your outer reality. This is the law that governs all creation, your inner belief. The conviction you hold silently and firmly is the seed from which all outward manifestation grows. You cannot escape it, for it works whether you are aware of it or not. If you assume poverty, limitation, or struggle, these will be the fruits you reap. If you assume success, abundance, and favor, then these are the realities that will unfold around you. Your imagination is not merely a playground of fantasy. It is the workshop through which the infinite expresses itself. Every accomplishment, every joy, Every blessing that has ever appeared in the world first existed in someone's mind as a living, vivid assumption. You must understand that the outer world is simply a mirror, reflecting back the inner convictions that you hold most deeply. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live and think as though your desire is already realized, the invisible power behind all creation, call it God, Spirit, or infinite intelligence, bends reality to conform to your inner state. It is not enough to hope or wish. Hope is a weak reflection of desire. What matters is the unwavering assumption, the deep-seated belief that your desire is already true. This assumption must be vivid, emotional, and tangible within your mind. You must feel the reality of what you desire as though it is already accomplished. The mind does not differentiate between the physical and the imagined when the imagination is lived and felt with conviction. There is substance and form identity. It accepts it as real and begins to draw circumstances, people, and events into alignment with that truth. Many fail because they allow their senses and outer circumstances to dictate their belief. They see lack, limitation, or delay, and they doubt the unseen. But the unseen is far more real than the seen. The world of imagination, when rightly directed, is the most potent reality there is. It is the seedbed from which all miracles grow. Your inner belief is sacred. It is the divine instrument that shapes your life. When you assume a new reality, when you inhabit it fully in your mind, the world is compelled to respond. The unseen becomes visible. The impossible becomes possible. And the life you have imagined comes forth. Understand this deeply. You are never at the mercy of circumstances. You are always the master of your own reality. By consciously assuming the truth of your desires, by holding them firmly in your mind and feeling them as already yours, you plant a seed that cannot fail. Your inner belief is the origin of all outward manifestation, the eternal source from which your life unfolds. Everything begins in your imagination. Everything. To live in the end is to dwell in the reality of your desire as though it has already been accomplished. Most people make the mistake of looking outward, believing that circumstances must change before their dreams can be fulfilled. But the truth is the opposite. The outer world always conforms to the inner state. The future is not something that arrives from without. It is the natural product of the consciousness you occupy in the present moment. If you imagine the end, if you feel and live in the state of having already achieved your desire, then the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself to match that reality. Living in the end requires a shift in perception, a deliberate and conscious act of the imagination. It is not enough to hope or wish for something to happen someday. Hope looks outward and waits for the world to change. Living in the end looks inward and recognizes that all change originates within. The moment you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you are placing yourself in the position of its inevitable manifestation. You are no longer a passive observer waiting for life to give you what you want. You are the creator, acting from the completed state. Your inner consciousness becomes the blueprint from which all events, circumstances, and experiences emerge. This practice requires discipline and faith. You must persist in the assumption of the end, regardless of what your senses reveal. The outer world may appear contrary, but appearances are only temporary illusions that reflect past assumptions. Your present state of consciousness determines the future, not the current appearance of reality. When you see yourself as already having what you desire, when you feel the emotions, joy, and satisfaction of its fulfillment, you are planting a seed in the unseen world. This seed cannot fail because it is conceived in the fertile soil of consciousness itself, which is the source of all creation. Living in the end also cultivates a sense of peace and certainty. There is no struggle when you know the outcome is already accomplished. Anxiety, doubt, and fear dissolve because they belong to a state of lack, and you no longer occupy that state. You align yourself with the natural order of creation, where everything you imagine and feel as real must manifest. Your actions, thoughts, and words then flow effortlessly, guided by the inner knowledge that the end is already achieved. This alignment produces results that may seem miraculous to the untrained eye, yet they are perfectly natural expressions of a mind operating in harmony with the unseen power of creation. Remember, the future is not something to wait for, it is something to inhabit. By living in the end, you claim your desires now, and the outer world must follow. You are not asking, pleading, or negotiating with reality. You are assuming, knowing, and commanding it from the state of fulfillment. In this state, every thought, every feeling, and every action resonates with the certainty of accomplishment, and life responds accordingly. To live in the end is to realize that the world is a reflection of your consciousness. And when your consciousness dwells in the completion of your desires, nothing can prevent their manifestation. Your imagination is not a mere pastime of the mind, a fleeting escape into fantasies. It is the most powerful instrument you possess, the divine tool through which God, Spirit, or the Infinite expresses itself in the world. Everything that exists first passed through the imagination of someone. Every invention, every building, every act of kindness, every work of art, every moment of joy that has ever been known first existed in the mind before it manifested in the world. To understand this is to realize that your imagination is sacred, a bridge between the visible and the invisible, the finite and the infinite. When you use your imagination consciously, you are aligning with the creative force of the universe. Imagination is not bound by limitations of time, space, or circumstance. It is the realm where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where your desires can be fully formed and felt before they appear in the outer world. Most people, however, allow their imagination to wander aimlessly, feeding fears, doubts, and limitations. They imagine lack, failure, and disappointment, and the outer world dutifully reflects these images back to them. But when imagination is used deliberately and consciously, it becomes the instrument through which you shape reality itself. To use your imagination consciously is to enter a state of awareness where you see, feel, and act as though your desire is already fulfilled. It is to dwell in the scene of your wish fulfilled, experiencing it vividly and with emotion, so that the mind accepts it as real. This is the divine law of creation. Whatever you imagine and feel as true must manifest. Your imagination is God's workshop, and your feelings are the blueprint. When you impress your consciousness with the reality of your desire, you set in motion the forces that bring it into physical expression. Conscious use of imagination requires discipline, persistence, and faith. It requires that you take control of your mental images and not allow random thoughts or external circumstances to dominate your mind. Every image you hold, every feeling you entertain, and every assumption you persist in is a statement to the universe about what you accept as real. By consciously directing your imagination toward your highest good, toward the fulfillment of your desires, you become a co-creator with the divine. You no longer wait for life to happen to you. You participate in its creation actively and intentionally. Let this go. Your imagination is limitless. It is the playground of God within you. When you dwell in it with clarity, feeling, and certainty, you align yourself with the infinite intelligence that governs all things. The outer world becomes a reflection of your inner state, and miracles, opportunities, and blessings begin to manifest effortlessly. Imagination is not optional, it is the tool through which life itself is formed. The more consciously you wield it, the more powerfully you participate in your own creation. It is both your responsibility and your privilege to use it wisely. For in imagination lies the secret of all achievements, all transformations, and all miracles. Faith in the invisible is the cornerstone of all creation. What you see with your eyes is only a shadow, a temporary reflection of a reality far greater than the senses can perceive. The true world, the world of power, opportunity, and fulfillment, exists beyond what is immediately visible. It is unseen, eternal, and unchanging, and it is far more potent than anything your eyes can detect. To live in faith in the invisible is to place your trust in what is not yet apparent, to hold unveiling belief in the reality of your desires before the outer world confirms them. This is the law through which all miracles occur. Many people wait for evidence before they believe. They wait for circumstances to change, for opportunities to appear, or for problems to resolve before they allow themselves to feel hope, joy, or assurance. But this is the world upside down. The unseen must come first. The invisible forms the blueprint, and the visible merely follows. The very act of trusting what cannot yet be seen aligns your consciousness with the creative power of the universe. Your inner conviction, your faith in the reality of your desires, is the magnet that draws the unseen into manifestation. Without this faith, nothing materializes, for doubt and disbelief act as barriers, blocking the natural flow of creation. Faith in the invisible requires more than mere mental assent. It requires feeling. It is not enough to intellectually understand that your desire will be fulfilled. You must live as if it has already been accomplished. You must feel the joy, the satisfaction, the peace, and the certainty that come from knowing the end is already realized. The imagination, combined with feeling, is the vehicle through which the unseen is impressed upon reality. When you feel the reality of your desire in your inner world, the universe responds. Circumstances, events, and people adjust to reflect the state of consciousness you occupy. The invisible is eternal, limitless, and perfect, and it is far more powerful than anything seen. What appears to be lack, limitation, or delay is only temporary and superficial. These outer conditions do not determine your destiny. They reflect past assumptions. Faith in the invisible allows you to rise above appearances and occupy the state of fulfillment now. In doing so, you not only prepare the way for manifestation, but also experience peace and certainty in the present. There is no struggle in faith, there is only quiet assurance and steadfast knowing. To trust the unseen is to acknowledge that your life is not ruled by chance or circumstance, but by the creative law of consciousness. Every visible outcome is born from an unseen cause, and when you align your mind with this truth, your life transforms. The invisible reality is waiting to be recognized, to be accepted, and to be lived as true. Faith in the invisible is the bridge between desire and manifestation, between thought and form, between longing and fulfillment. When you embrace it fully, the unseen becomes inevitable, the impossible becomes possible, and your life unfolds in perfect alignment with your highest vision. Resistance is the greatest barrier to the manifestation of your desires. Most people spend their lives struggling against circumstances, fighting what appears to be a reality that opposes them. They see lack, delay, or difficulty, and their natural response is to resist, to push back, and to attempt to force change from the outside. But this struggle is futile. Circumstances are mere shadows, fleeting reflections of past assumptions and inner states. They have no ultimate power over you. Your true power lies in your inner consciousness, in the state you occupy within, for it is your inner state that shapes the outer world. To release resistance is to stop opposing what is and to align yourself with the unseen reality of your desire. When you resist, you give energy and attention to what you do not want. You argue with reality, complain about circumstances, and attempt to manipulate the outer world to conform to your desires. Yet all this does is strengthen the very conditions you are resisting. The law of consciousness works impartially. Whatever you focus on, whatever you feel with intensity, is impressed upon your reality. If you concentrate on struggle, lack, or difficulty, you reinforce their presence. But when you release resistance, when you stop struggling and accept the moment as it is, you create a vacuum in which the unseen can operate. In that space, the power of imagination and assumption moves freely to bring your desires into manifestation. To release resistance does not mean to ignore your desires or to become passive. On the contrary, it is a conscious act of faith. It is the decision to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of what your senses report. You assume the state of having already received, and in doing so you cease to argue with life. You stop fighting the shadows and begin to inhabit the reality you wish to see. This is the art of conscious creation. The outer world cannot resist the inner reality when the inner reality is fixed and unwavering. By occupying the end, you allow life to flow effortlessly toward your fulfillment. Resistance is rooted in disbelief, fear, and impatience. It is the sense that the world is hostile, that life is unfair, or that you must fight to get what you want. To release resistance, you must recognize that all apparent opposition is temporary and illusory. The universe is not against you, it is merely responding to your inner state. Change the inner state, and the outer world must follow. Let go of the struggle, let go of doubt, and surrender to the feeling of your desire accomplished. This surrender is not weakness. It is the greatest expression of strength, for it aligns you with the creative intelligence that governs all things. When resistance is released, life begins to flow effortlessly. Opportunities appear, circumstances shift, and people align themselves with your vision. You discover that the outer world has always been a mirror of your inner state, and that by changing your inner state, you change everything. The shadows dissolve, and the reality of your imagination becomes your experience. Release resistance, occupy the end, and watch the world conform to the fulfillment of your desires, for it is only the inner state that defines the life you live. Gratitude is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the secret key that transforms desire into reality and makes the unseen inevitable. Most people wait to feel grateful until they have received what they want, but this is the backward way of creation. True manifestation begins not with the outer, but with the inner. To feel gratitude as if your desire has already manifested is to impress the unseen with the reality of your fulfillment. It is a conscious acknowledgement that your desire is no longer in the future but exists now in the realm of the mind and heart. When you cultivate this feeling, the universe is compelled to reflect it in the outer world. Gratitude for the end is more than polite appreciation. It is a state of being. It is a deep, resonant feeling that saturates your consciousness with the certainty of your desire fulfilled. Imagine the joy, the relief, the satisfaction that comes from having your wish realized, and allow that feeling to dominate your inner life. Do not focus on what is missing, on what is delayed, or on the obstacles in your path. Let your consciousness dwell entirely in the experience of already having received. When you do this, your mind ceases to struggle with lack and aligns with the creative force that governs all manifestation. The feeling of gratitude impresses the unseen with truth, and the world is forced to conform to it. Many fail to understand the power of this practice because they attempt to create through thought alone, without feeling. Thought without feeling is empty. It is only when the mind is saturated with the emotion of fulfillment that imagination becomes reality. Gratitude is the emotion that signals to the universe that the end is accomplished. When you feel thankful for what you have not yet seen, you are not pretending. You are acknowledging the eternal truth that your desire exists in the unseen, waiting to be experienced in the outer world. This is the law. The unseen is moved into manifestation by the feeling of certainty and thankfulness. Practicing gratitude for the end also changes your perception of life. You begin to see the world not as a place of struggle, lack, or delay, but as a mirror reflecting the state of your inner consciousness. Every circumstance, every encounter, and every opportunity aligns with the gratitude you hold. You no longer look to the outside world for validation because you have already assumed the end within. Life flows effortlessly. Doors open and conditions adjust themselves to match your inner reality. This is the natural law of creation. What you feel as true is what must appear. Gratitude accelerates manifestation because it eliminates resistance. There is no struggle when you are already thankful for what is coming. Doubt and fear dissolve, leaving only the certainty of fulfillment. The more consistently you inhabit this state, the faster the invisible becomes visible. The universe responds to the vibration of gratitude, aligning circumstances, people, and events to reflect the reality you have assumed. To live in gratitude, for the end is to live in the fulfillment of your desires now, to claim your blessing in the unseen, and to allow life to reflect it perfectly in the physical world. As we come to the close of this message, remember this truth above all. Everything you desire is not a distant possibility. It is already done. The universe has moved in your favor, and all that remains is for you to claim it within. Your imagination, your faith, your assumption, your release of resistance, and your gratitude. These are the tools that bring the unseen into the seen. What you feel and believe as true in this moment shapes the reality that unfolds before you. There is no waiting, there is no lack, there is only the eternal, divine movement working on your behalf. So go forth with confidence, knowing that your desires are already accomplished in the invisible. Live in the feeling of the end. Trust the unseen and embrace the flow of life that is aligning perfectly for you. Every step you take, every thought you nurture, every feeling you cultivate now is the echo of what has already been established for you. The doors are open, the blessings are prepared, and the favor of the infinite has already been placed in your hands. Thank you for allowing yourself to receive this message today. May you walk in the certainty of your fulfilled desires. May your imagination guide you to the life you dream of. And may you always live in the knowing that it is already done. Thank you, and may your journey be filled with the realization of all that your heart has assumed. You have entered the hour you once prayed for. What seemed delayed was never denied. It was being divinely orchestrated for perfect timing. Every moment of waiting, every season of silence, every seeming setback was preparing the stage for your appointed manifestation. The tide has turned. What was once hidden is now being revealed. The universe, God, the unseen, it has heard you and now it's responding. The moment you began to see yourself as chosen, everything unseen began to move. The favor that was always yours is no longer dormant. It is alive, active, and working in your direction. You are not waiting on the divine is waiting on your recognition. The instant you say within, "It is done," creation bows in agreement. This is not the season of striving, it is the season of unfolding. You are stepping into rooms that once seemed unreachable, not because you fought your way in, but because favor opened the door. Your awareness is your key. When you see yourself as favored, life becomes an echo of that inner vision. Look back and notice the alignment. The people you've met, the shifts in timing, the closed doors, all were pieces of a divine sequence designed for your good. Nothing was random. Even the silence was speaking in your favor. Every delay was divine choreography preparing the perfect moment for your emergence. Your time has come. You don't have to chase it anymore. The divine plan is not somewhere ahead, it is here, now, breathing through you. Feel it. The calm assurance within you is proof that the manifestation is complete. You are no longer praying for it, you are walking in it. Let go of the old story, the one that told you you're waiting for your turn. Your turn has come. The table has been set. The light is upon you. Every step from here is guided, every encounter meaningful, every outcome touched by favor. So stand tall in quiet confidence. Speak from completion, not from desire. Know that everything moving around you is responding to your inner conviction that it is done. The favor you seek has already claimed you. Your time has come. Divine favor is moving for you now. The appointed hour has arrived. This is not a moment that will come tomorrow, next week, or next year. It is here, unfolding right now in the eternal present. Often, we spend so much of our lives waiting for some future sign, some future alignment, some future blessing, that we fail to recognize the power of this very moment. Yet the truth is that the moment you have longed for, prayed for, and visualized has already been placed before you. It is not a distant event waiting in the shadows of time. It is alive, real, and immediate. The universe does not move on your schedule. It moves on the perfect divine timing that is already at work in your favor. Your past desires, your prayers, your persistent imagining have not been ignored. They have been carefully collected and arranged, quietly forming the circumstances, encounters, and opportunities that are now entering your experience. When you understand this, you recognize that waiting is not a punishment, but a preparation. Every experience of delay, every moment of seeming silence, every closed door has been part of a precise orchestration. The appointed hour is not random. It is the culmination of your inner alignment with the life you have imagined. The longer you have held the vision, the stronger it has become, and now it is ready to manifest without obstruction. Your inner world, the clarity of your imagination, the persistence of your faith, and the certainty of your knowing has summoned the external world to reflect the reality you hold within. To feel the arrival of this appointed hour is to step into a state of awareness that is free from doubt, fear, or impatience. It is to know that what you have longed for is no longer a possibility but a certainty. This certainty does not demand evidence from the outside world. It is felt internally, in the calm assurance that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Except. The universe responds to the clarity of your consciousness. And when your awareness aligns with the fulfillment of your desire, all of life bends toward that expression. The appointed hour invites you to see the signs, embrace the synchronicities, and recognize the opportunities that are appearing effortlessly in your path. Doors that once seemed closed are opening, people who once seemed distant are arriving, and circumstances that once seemed impossible are now aligning with ease. This is the divine confirmation that your prayers have been heard and that the life you have imagined is being brought into manifestation. Understand that this hour is sacred. It is a gift that calls for your full attention and your full acceptance. Do not dismiss it as coincidence, nor doubt its authenticity. The appointed hour is the exact moment when your inner faith and imagination meet reality, when the unseen forces of favor, guidance, and support converge to bring your vision into existence. All that you have longed for is no longer a distant hope. It is here, waiting for your recognition, ready for you to step fully into the reality you have imagined. This hour is yours, and it marks the beginning of the visible unfolding of your dreams. What occurs within you always precedes what manifests without. The world you see with your eyes is a reflection of the world you carry in your consciousness. Every thought, every belief, every feeling you entertain internally is a seed that, in time, grows into a visible reality. Too often, people look to external circumstances and demand that they change first, believing that their peace, success, or favor depends on the outside world aligning with their desires. Yet, the true principle of life is that the invisible must come before the visible. You cannot witness a transformation in your environment without first experiencing it within yourself. The inner world is the blueprint. The outer world is the construction. If you wish to see change, you must first embody it internally. Belief is not a passive state. It is an active force shaping your experience. When you believe that favor, opportunity, and abundance are flowing to you, this belief sends out a signal to the unseen forces of creation. Your inner conviction has the power to orchestrate circumstances, align people, and open doors that were previously closed. What is happening inside you is already moving in the unseen, quietly arranging and preparing the outer conditions necessary for manifestation. Often, it feels as though change is slow or delayed, but the truth is that the invisible labor of the mind, imagination, and heart is occurring in perfect timing. You are already receiving before you see. Feeling is as critical as belief. Your emotions are the energy that gives life to your thoughts. When you feel the reality of your desires as if they are already fulfilled, you propel the unseen into action. Peace, joy, confidence, and certainty act as catalysts for manifestation. When you act and think from the place of fulfillment rather than lack, you align yourself with the creative power that governs reality. The external world cannot resist the energy of someone who knows without question that their inner vision is true. You do not need to push, struggle, or force the outer world to reflect your desires. You simply need to persist in the inner state until the evidence appears naturally, and inevitably every success, every opportunity, every moment of divine favor begins as an internal shift. The person who sees themselves as favored, prepared, and guided will always find that life arranges itself accordingly. Obstacles that appear real to the untrained eye are nothing more than shadows that dissolve when the inner reality is fixed and unwavering. The shift within acts as a magnet for the outer expression. Your imagination, your feeling, and your unwavering belief are the architects of the life you are about to experience. Understand that your inner world is sacred, and it is the precursor to everything in your outer world. As you nurture your consciousness with certainty, vision, and a deep knowing of fulfillment, you will begin to notice signs, synchronicities, and opportunities appearing effortlessly around you. The outer change is not separate from you. It is a mirror of your inner conviction. The inner shift has already occurred, and as you sustain it, the world around you will inevitably align with the new reality you have embraced. Divine favor is not something that can be earned through struggle, effort, or competition. It is not granted to those who appear most deserving by worldly measures, nor is it something that is reserved for a select few who follow certain rules or conditions. Favor is a natural state, a divine inheritance that belongs to every individual simply by virtue of existence. To live in awareness of this truth is to awaken to a reality that has always been present but often overlooked. Many people spend their lives chasing after blessings, opportunities, and recognition, believing that they must prove themselves worthy to receive them. Yet the essence of divine favor is that it cannot be earned. It can only be recognized. It is always available. It has always been yours. The key is to awaken to its presence, to acknowledge it, and to align your consciousness with the understanding that you are the recipient of a limitless supply of grace and support. When you awaken to divine favor, you understand that it does not depend on the approval of others or the shifting circumstances of the world. Favor is not measured by popularity, wealth, or status. It is measured by the alignment of your inner being with the truth of your own existence. The moment you recognize that you are inherently worthy of divine favor, the external world begins to reflect that awareness. People, opportunities, and resources appear as if by magic, yet it is the recognition of your inherited favor that attracts them. The universe is simply responding to the awareness that has awakened within you. You do not need to chase or struggle, because what is already yours is moving toward you naturally. Favor is a state of being rather than a series of events. When you live from the consciousness of favor, you no longer see life as a series of obstacles or competitions. You see it as a space in which possibilities unfold, doors open, and blessings manifest without resistance. The ones who experience favor are not always the strongest, the smartest, or the most deserving in human terms. They are the ones who recognize the divine flow moving through their lives and allow it to guide them. They understand that life itself is conspiring on their behalf, orchestrating circumstances and encounters to support their highest good. To awaken to favor is to step into a place of peace, certainty, and trust. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself, to compete, or to manipulate outcomes. You simply recognize that what belongs to you cannot be taken away, and that what is meant for you will find its way into your life effortlessly. The recognition of favor brings clarity and confidence, and from this awareness, life unfolds with ease and grace. Divine favor was never something to achieve. It was always a gift waiting to be acknowledged. The moment you stop chasing it and begin to recognize it, you enter into a new reality. Opportunities align, relationships flourish, and circumstances bend in your favor. Favor is not a reward for effort. It is a reflection of your alignment with the divine, an acknowledgement of your inherent worth, and a confirmation that the universe is always moving to support you. It has been yours from the beginning, and awakening to it is the key to experiencing its fullness in your life. Everything is aligning for your rise. Life is not a series of random events or chaotic coincidences. It is a divine orchestration in which every circumstance, every encounter, and every moment of timing is being arranged to support your elevation. Often, we perceive delays, setbacks, and obstacles as signs that we are off course. But the truth is that these apparent challenges are part of the careful alignment that precedes manifestation. The universe is not against you. It is working quietly behind the scenes to ensure that every element is positioned perfectly to bring your desires into reality. What may appear as waiting is in fact preparation. What may seem like resistance is in truth redirection toward a higher outcome that you could not have anticipated. The people in your life, whether they appear as allies or as obstacles, are also part of this alignment. Those who support your vision, encourage your growth, and inspire your progress are arriving at exactly the right time. Those who challenge, distract, or oppose you are fulfilling a necessary role, teaching lessons and opening pathways that refine your focus and strengthen your determination. Nothing is accidental. Every person, every interaction is part of the intricate design that is preparing the way for your rise. Even the timing of events, the delays, and the opportunities that seem to appear unexpectedly are orchestrated for your highest good. To rise is to step into your full potential, and the alignment that precedes this rise requires trust in the unseen. You may not yet see the end result, but that does not mean it is not already in motion. The currents of life are moving in your favor, arranging circumstances so that when the time is right, manifestation occurs effortlessly. The obstacles you once feared are dissolving, and the doors that seemed closed are slowly swinging open. Each coincidence, each lucky encounter, each timely opportunity is a signal that the universe is actively coordinating the environment for your success. Rise requires awareness, To recognize this alignment, you must be conscious of the subtle shifts around you, the signs, synchronicities, and moments of clarity that reveal the invisible hand guiding your path. When you see these indications, you no longer rely solely on effort, force, or struggle. Instead, you act in harmony with the flow that is moving all things toward your elevation. This is the divine law. The inner vision and conviction you hold attract the external alignment needed for its fulfillment. Your rise is inevitable because everything within the universe has been directed toward it. The timing is perfect, the conditions are prepared, and the support is in place. The alignment is not something you must create, it is something you must recognize, step into, and move with. Circumstances are bending, people are appearing, and doors are opening in precise accordance with the vision you have cultivated. The evidence of this alignment may not always be immediate, but it is constant and unchanging. The universe is calling you forward. It is inviting you to step into the fullness of your purpose, to claim the opportunities, and to walk confidently in the manifestation of your dreams. Everything you need has been arranged. Everything is ready. Your rise is not just possible, it is assured. You are living in a moment where divine orchestration is moving on your behalf, and all that remains is for you to acknowledge it, align with it, and rise into the reality that is already waiting for you. Your confidence is the proof of arrival. It is not found in the accumulation of evidence, the approval of others, or the achievement of external milestones. True confidence is born from the inner knowing that what you seek has already been fulfilled within your consciousness. The moment you cease to doubt, cease to worry, and stop chasing after outcomes, you are no longer living in a state of anticipation. You are living from fulfillment itself. Confidence is the signal that the inner reality has been fully embraced, and that the outer world will inevitably conform to that inner truth. It is the quiet, unwavering assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be, and that all things are aligning in your favor. Many people mistake struggle, effort, and striving for progress, believing that action alone will produce results. Yet it is not the outward hustle that proves arrival. It is the state of mind, the consciousness of completion that sets the universe into motion. When you are confident, you radiate an energy that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities to you. You no longer chase or manipulate life to meet your expectations, because you know, without question, that the fulfillment is already yours. The outer world is simply reflecting the inner conviction that has been cultivated over time through belief, imagination, and persistent awareness of your desires as realities. Reality. Living from fulfillment means that your sense of peace and certainty is independent of your surroundings. You are no longer affected by setbacks, delays, or the opinions of others, because your reality is anchored internally. Confidence is not arrogance or blind optimism. It is the deep awareness that you are already complete and that everything required for your next step is being provided in perfect timing. The absence of doubt and worry does not indicate ignorance of challenges. It indicates mastery over the inner state. It is the conscious choice to inhabit the reality of your desires before the physical evidence appears. The proof of arrival is subtle yet undeniable. It manifests as calmness in the midst of chaos, clarity in the face of uncertainty, and joy in the present moment, regardless of circumstance. Confidence allows you to act decisively, to speak from authority, and to move through life without hesitation, because you are not operating from fear or lack. Instead, you are operating from the recognition that what is yours cannot be denied, delayed, or diminished. Every thought, every feeling, and every word is aligned with the reality you already inhabit internally. When you understand this principle, you realize that confidence is not a result of achieving, it is the cause of achieving. By embodying the state of completion, you magnetize the outer conditions to match your inner reality. The absence of doubt, the relinquishing of worry, and the refusal to chase are all indicators that the inner work has been done and that arrival has already taken place within. Life becomes effortless because you no longer strive for what you already possess. You simply recognize it, live it, and allow the world to reflect it back to you. Your confidence is the proof of arrival. It is the living testimony that the inner shift has occurred, that fulfillment is present, and that divine favor is actively moving on your behalf. To be confident is to know that the destination is already yours, and to live from this state is to walk in the manifestation of your highest vision. The evidence of favor is peace. True favor is not measured by wealth, recognition, or the applause of the world. It is measured by the quiet, unshakable sense of inner calm that exists even before circumstances align externally. When you experience this peace, it is a signal that divine order is at work in your life, orchestrating events and arranging people and situations to bring about your highest good. The world may appear chaotic and challenges may still present themselves, but peace within is the unmistakable sign that the unseen forces are already moving in your favor. It is the proof that the universe is responding to your inner alignment and that blessings are on the way, waiting to manifest in their perfect time and form. Peace is the first indication that you are no longer struggling against life or attempting to force outcomes through effort or worry. It is a state that arises when you trust in the divine intelligence that governs all things. When you surrender resistance and stop attempting to control every detail, you create a space for divine orchestration to work freely. The calm that fills your heart in these moments is not passive. It is a dynamic presence that signals alignment, assurance, and the certainty of fulfillment. Life moves most effortlessly when you inhabit this state of peace, for the universe always mirrors the consciousness you maintain internally. To experience this peace is to know that the world is not working against you but for you. The doors that seem closed, the delays that feel frustrating, and the obstacles that appear insurmountable are all temporary appearances. Beneath the surface, everything is rearranging itself in accordance with divine favor. People are being positioned in your life at exactly the right time. Opportunities are being prepared to appear naturally and effortlessly. Circumstances are aligning to support your elevation and the realization of your desires. Peace is the recognition that these movements are already happening and that your role is to remain in a state of quiet assurance, not frantic struggle. When you cultivate this inner peace, it becomes a lens through which you view all experiences. Challenges no longer provoke panic or anxiety. Setbacks no longer shake your faith. Instead, every situation is seen as part of a larger pattern that serves your growth, expansion, and ultimate good. This peace is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the presence of understanding. The recognition that the unseen forces of favor are active, and the confident knowing that life is unfolding in perfect order. It is the inner confirmation that you are aligned with the flow of divine grace and that everything necessary for your rise is already in motion. The evidence of favor is therefore not external validation, but the calm assurance within. When you are at peace, you are in harmony with the divine plan, and this harmony ensures that blessings will naturally reflect outwardly in your life. The world always mirrors the inner state, and when you cultivate serenity, trust, and quiet certainty, the outer world bends in response. The more you embody this peace, the more visible the favor becomes, until every circumstance, encounter, and opportunity reflects the divine support that has been present all along. Peace within is the first, most profound sign that your time has come and that divine favor is actively moving for you now. As we come to the close of this message, remember that your time has truly come. Every moment you have spent hoping, waiting, and believing was preparing you for this very season of divine favor. The shifts within you have already begun, and the world around you is rearranging itself to reflect the fulfillment that has always been yours. Trust in the unseen, embrace the peace within, and act from the certainty that what is meant for you cannot be denied. The doors are opening, the opportunities are aligning, and every circumstance is moving in harmony with your highest good. Stand tall in confidence, knowing that favor has already claimed you, and live each day from the state of completion rather than pursuit. Your rise is inevitable, your blessings are manifesting, and the universe is actively working on your behalf. Thank you. There is a moment when the invisible world begins to move. You can't always explain it, but you can feel it. Something within you begins to awaken. Suddenly, you sense that life is not random, that every experience was leading you to this realization. You are not waiting for favor. You are stepping into it. The atmosphere has changed. The shift has begun. What was once heavy now feels light. The thoughts that used to imprison you no longer hold power. The same situations that once intimidated you now seem small compared to the force moving within you. This is not coincidence. This is divine timing. The unseen realm has turned in your favor, and everything is rearranging itself to fulfill what was spoken over your life. Understand this. Every transformation begins in the invisible. Before anything manifests in your outer world, it must first be conceived in the inner world of imagination and belief. The moment you decide that your story is shifting, heaven agrees. The power that created the universe begins to align circumstances, people, and opportunities to reflect your new conviction. You may look around and still see the old evidence, the lack, the delay, the silence, but don't be deceived. These are the final tremors before manifestation. The unseen law of faith is already at work, restructuring everything in your favor. The same opposition that once blocked you is now being turned into the very foundation that will elevate you. This is your sign. The unease, the restlessness, the sudden changes, they are all proof that movement has begun. The universe is making space for your breakthrough. What was withheld is being released. What seemed impossible is now entering the realm of the inevitable. You are being called to trust the process, to remain firm in your inner knowing even when your outer world hasn't caught up. Your only task is to stay faithful to the feeling of your new reality. Speak it, feel it, embody it. When you do, you will find that everything begins to reflect it. People will appear at the right time. Doors will open without effort. And what was once delayed will arrive suddenly. The shift is not coming, it has already begun. You are standing in the middle of divine rearrangement. Every force that once worked against you has been reversed. Life is turning to bless you, favor is chasing you, and grace is positioning you for elevation. So lift your head. The delay was not denial, it was divine preparation. The silence was not abandonment, it was alignment. Everything has led to this moment, this awakening, this recognition that God is turning everything in your favor. This is your sign, your time has come, the shift has begun. Nothing can stop what is now unfolding for you. The invisible shift has already started. You may not see it, you may not fully understand it, but something in the unseen is moving on your behalf. The divine realm is orchestrating a transformation that your physical eyes cannot yet perceive. What once appeared stagnant is now alive with invisible momentum. The atmosphere around your life is being restructured. The energies are realigning, and the circumstances that once seemed resistant are beginning to bend toward your favor. Every great change begins in silence. Seeds don't shout when they break open beneath the soil. They do not announce their transformation, yet life is happening within them. The roots spread, the pressure builds, and in the right moment, growth bursts forth into view. The same is happening in your life. God's hand is at work beneath the surface, cultivating your breakthrough in the hidden realm before revealing it in the physical. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. The unseen is far more powerful than what the natural eye can perceive. When you align your inner world with divine truth, the outer world has no choice but to conform. The shift doesn't begin when the circumstances change, it begins when your consciousness changes. The moment you stop seeing yourself as limited, the moment you stop agreeing with fear and begin to agree with faith, the unseen responds instantly. The universe mirrors your inner conviction. As you elevate your thoughts, everything around you begins to rise to meet that vibration. Many people miss this moment because they look for signs only in the physical. They want to see proof before they believe. But in divine law, belief precedes manifestation. You must first accept that the shift is already in motion, even when the evidence isn't visible. Faith is the bridge between what is unseen and what will soon be undeniable. Every time you choose gratitude instead of worry, every time you affirm the promise instead of the problem, you strengthen that bridge. Understand this, there is no wasted waiting. What seems like stillness is often divine setup. While you think nothing is moving, heaven is coordinating the timing, the people, and the paths necessary for your next level. Delays are disguises for preparation. You are not being overlooked, you are being strategically positioned. The invisible shift must finish its work before the visible breakthrough can appear. So you basically three tribute. The visible breakthrough can appear. Right now, everything is being rearranged for your good. Closed doors are redirecting you to better ones. Relationships that ended are making space for divine connections. Opportunities are aligning in the background, waiting for the perfect moment to intersect with your readiness. You are being guided, refined, and strengthened for what's coming. The invisible shift is not a future event, it is your current reality. It is the quiet unfolding of divine intelligence turning the unseen into the seen. Trust it, feel it, expect it. You may not yet see the fruit, but the soil of your life is alive with destiny. Soon what was invisible will become undeniable, and you'll realize the shift had already begun long before you noticed it. The law of inner assumption is one of the most profound truths about the way creation works. Life does not respond to what you want, it responds to what you assume to be true. Every circumstance, every encounter, every result you experience is a reflection of your inner conviction. The outer world is merely a mirror of your inner state. As you shift inward, your reality has no choice but to follow. What you continually believe and feel within becomes the command that shapes everything around you. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is the quiet certainty that what you desire already exists in the unseen. It is the decision to embody the feeling of the fulfilled desire before the evidence appears. When you assume something as true within, you are giving permission to the divine law of manifestation to rearrange reality to match that assumption. The moment you adopt a new inner identity, one aligned with faith, abundance, peace, and victory, life begins to reorganize itself to reflect that consciousness. Everything begins in imagination. The imagination is the workshop of creation, the sacred space where you rehearse the life you desire. The emotions you consistently entertain in that inner space become the vibration that calls corresponding experiences into your path. If you live assuming lack, life must confirm it. If you live assuming favor, blessings will find you in unexpected ways. It is not the outer struggle that determines your outcome, but the inner story you tell yourself daily. When you choose to see yourself as already blessed, already healed, already successful, you activate the invisible laws of alignment. The universe is obedient to belief. It does not argue with your conviction, it simply mirrors it. That is why transformation must always begin within. If you attempt to change the outer world without shifting your inner state, you will only meet resistance. But the moment you change how you see yourself, how you feel about your life, how you speak about your destiny, everything external begins to bend toward that new truth. This is the law of inner assumption in motion. You live as though it is already done, and creation responds by making it so. You may not know how it will unfold, or through whom it will come, but you can rest in the certainty that it must happen. Life has no power to deny what you inwardly accept as true. Your reality is always catching up to your inner belief system. That's why the most powerful shift you can make is internal. The moment you stop rehearsing fear and start embodying faith, the atmosphere around you changes. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, the timing of events, all begin to reflect the inner frequency you carry. So stop waiting for signs before believing. Instead, believe and the signs will follow. Assume the best and life will confirm it. You are not a victim of circumstance, you are the author of it. As you shift inward with faith, gratitude, and conviction, your outer world will faithfully obey the new script written by your heart. Divine reversal is one of the most extraordinary moves of God. It is the sacred moment when everything that once resisted you begins to work for you. What once stood as an obstacle is now being transformed into the very bridge that will lift you higher. The forces that seemed to block your progress were never meant to destroy you, they were designed to refine you, to prepare you for the elevation now unfolding. When divine reversal is in motion, opposition becomes opportunity, and pain becomes the pathway to power. There are seasons in life where it feels as though everything is working against you. Doors close, relationships end, resources dry up, and nothing seems to move in your favor. Yet in those very seasons, God is quietly setting the stage for a supernatural turnaround. He allows certain things to crumble not to punish you, but to clear the space for something far greater. Divine reversal begins in the unseen, in the hidden orchestration of details you cannot yet perceive. What looks like loss is actually alignment. What feels like rejection is redirection. Every challenge carries within it the seed of promotion. Every setback has an assignment to push you into divine positioning. The very situations that once brought you pain are being transformed into the instruments of your rise. You may not yet see the evidence, but the energy has shifted. The same people who doubted you will soon witness the fulfillment of what was promised to you. The very place of your greatest struggle will become the stage for your greatest testimony. Divine reversal means heaven has stepped into your story. It means the invisible hand of grace is rewriting what once seemed final. You are no longer being buried, you are being planted. There's a vast difference between the two. Burial hides you for death, but planting hides you for resurrection. God has been working in the dark places of your life, nurturing what you thought was over, and now that hidden seed is breaking through the soil. Everything that opposed you was unknowingly part of your preparation. The disappointments trained your faith, the delays built your patience, and the failures taught you wisdom. These experiences were not wasted. They have become the foundation of your divine elevation. The pressure you endured was not proof of God's absence, it was proof of His process. Now the tides are turning. The same energy that once held you back is shifting to propel you forward. The enemies that rose against you are being silenced, and the very ground that once rejected you is being blessed because of you. This is the mystery of divine reversal, the power to transform adversity into advancement. So do not mourn the seasons of resistance. Celebrate them, for they have positioned you for breakthrough. What was meant to harm you has become the very force that will bless you. The storm you feared was never meant to destroy your destiny. It was sent to deliver you into it. The divine reversal is in motion, and it will not stop until everything that opposed you becomes evidence of God's favor on your life. Faith is the catalyst that ignites divine movement. It is the invisible force that activates the orchestration of heaven and determines the pace of your manifestation. Nothing in the spiritual realm responds to hesitation or doubt, but everything responds to unwavering belief. Faith is not merely a concept, it is a creative power. It transforms thought into substance, word into form, and expectation into experience. When you believe, you give permission for the divine to act on your behalf. Abruptly, if, despite, or aren't, the moment you decide to stand in faith, the universe begins to rearrange itself around your conviction. Angels move, opportunities shift, and unseen forces begin to collaborate for your good. Faith is not waiting passively, it is standing in certainty even when the evidence has not yet appeared. It is choosing to see beyond appearances and trusting that what you have asked for is already done. Faith speaks in the language of completion, does not say, "It will happen someday." It says, "It is done now." Everything you desire already exists in potential form. Faith is the bridge that brings it from the invisible realm into the visible. But that bridge can only be crossed by belief, not by fear or doubt. The strength of your faith determines how quickly manifestation unfolds. When you waver, you delay the process. When you stand firm, you accelerate it. The divine responds to the certainty of your conviction, not the desperation of your need. Faith is not blind optimism, it is divine knowing. It is the quiet assurance that the Creator of all things has already established the outcome. Even when circumstances seem to contradict your vision, faith refuses to be moved by what it sees. It looks past the temporary and holds on to the eternal. The eyes of faith are focused not on what is missing, but on what is promised. When you hold that inner picture with persistence, life cannot help but conform to it. The power of belief creates movement where there was stagnation. It opens doors that logic says should remain closed. It pulls resources, connections, and timing into perfect alignment. The more you trust, the more you attract divine coordination. Your faith acts as a signal that tells the universe, "I am ready." And the moment you declare readiness, everything you need begins to locate you. This is why your inner posture matters more than your outer circumstances. You don't need to see evidence to believe, you need to believe to see evidence. The world mirrors your internal vibration. If you carry faith, life must produce fruit that matches it. Faith does not beg or chase, it simply knows. It rests in assurance, and in that rest, divine movement accelerates. So hold fast to your faith. Do not be discouraged by the delay, it is only an illusion. The timing is aligning with your level of belief. The stronger your faith, the faster the orchestration. Keep declaring, keep seeing, keep knowing. Your faith is the catalyst, and the moment you believe completely, manifestation becomes inevitable. Everything is working for you, even when it doesn't look like it. The delays, the denials, and the detours that once frustrated you are not evidence of abandonment. They are proof of divine strategy. Every experience, every setback, every closed door is being woven together into the tapestry of your destiny. Nothing in your life has been wasted. What you thought was holding you back has actually been positioning you for something greater. The divine plan operates with perfect precision. What feels like delay in time is often alignment in purpose. When something doesn't happen when you expect it to, it's because the right elements are still being arranged. God doesn't just want you to receive what you desire, He wants you to be ready to sustain it. The delay is not denial, it's preparation. While you were waiting, you were being developed, refined, and strengthened. What seemed like stagnation was actually transformation in disguise. Sometimes what looks like a detour is the exact path you needed to take. If you had gone the way you originally wanted, you might have missed the lessons that now shape your wisdom. Divine direction is not always a straight line. It's a series of intentional turns designed to bring you into perfect alignment with your purpose. Each experience, the good and the painful, carries a piece of the promise. Nothing is random. The denials you faced were not to punish you, but to protect you. What you thought you lost was simply what wasn't meant to go with you into your next season. When doors close, it's not because you were unworthy, it's because something greater is being reserved for you. The rejection you endured was really redirection, a gentle nudge from heaven steering you towards something better. Every time you thought something was working against you, it was secretly working for you. The divine plan sees beyond what you can see. Where you saw delay, heaven saw alignment. Where you saw disappointment, heaven saw development. Where you saw endings, heaven saw beginnings. Even the moments that broke you were used to build you. You were being prepared to handle the blessing without breaking under its weight. You are not being tested to prove your weakness. You are being shaped to reveal your strength. So release the frustration with your timeline. Trust that there is meaning in every moment, even in the silence. Everything is being ordered for your highest good. The path that seems uncertain is still divinely guided. The prayers that felt unanswered are now being fulfilled in a better way than you imagined. What looked like a setback is becoming a setup for your divine outcome. You are stepping into a season where you will look back and see how perfectly everything aligned. Every closed door, every disappointment, every delay was an essential part of your preparation. The universe was never working against you. It was working through you, for you. Nothing has been lost. Everything has been redirected toward your elevation. What was once confusing will soon make perfect sense. All things are working together for your good, and this is the evidence that divine favor has always been on your side. This is your confirmation. The signs you've been noticing are not coincidences. The repeated numbers, the unexpected encounters, the moments of inner peace that arrive out of nowhere, they are divine signals, whispering that the shift has begun. The universe does not communicate through accident. It speaks through alignment. Every subtle sign, every sudden clarity, every intuitive nudge is heaven's way of saying you're on the right path. What you're feeling within you is not imagination, it's confirmation. There comes a time when the invisible becomes undeniable. You start to sense that life is orchestrating something on your behalf. Circumstances begin to shift. People enter and exit your life with divine precision, and your inner world feels more alive than ever before. These are not random events, they are evidence that God's hand is moving. The shift has already started. Not somewhere distant, but within you. The external signs are simply the reflection of the internal awakening that has taken place. When your spirit begins to align with divine purpose, the entire universe responds. You begin to magnetize experiences that mirror your new level of consciousness. You notice synchronicities that once went unseen, a conversation that confirms what you were praying about, a door opening that aligns perfectly with your vision, a word spoken at the exact moment you needed it. These are the gentle assurances of divine timing. They remind you that you are no longer walking alone. You are walking with divine partnership. Often, we dismiss signs because we expect something dramatic. Yet the divine speaks softly. It speaks through repeated patterns, through moments of stillness, through a sudden knowing that something has shifted. When you begin to live with awareness, you realize that the entire universe is communicating with you constantly. The signs are never to create fear or confusion. They exist to strengthen your faith, to remind you that what you have been believing for is already unfolding. This is your confirmation that nothing has been in vain. The waiting, the tears, the uncertainty, all of it was leading to this moment of recognition. You were not being delayed, you were being aligned. The signs you are seeing are heaven's way of saying, now is the time. The frequency around you has changed, and the energy that once resisted you is now supporting you. You are no longer striving, you are attracting. You are no longer guessing, you are guided. So stop questioning the confirmation and start walking in it. The signs didn't appear by chance. They were sent to prepare your heart for manifestation. What you feel stirring inside is the vibration of answered prayer. The divine has heard you, and the movement has begun. This is not the season to doubt, it's the season to trust. Everything is aligning perfectly, and the signs around you are proof. The shift is here, the atmosphere has changed, and your reality is catching up to what has already been decreed in the Spirit. This is your confirmation. God is moving, and your breakthrough has already started. Everything that has been spoken is a divine reminder that your life is not standing still. It is unfolding exactly as it should. The shift has already begun. What was working against you is now working for you. The unseen realm has turned in your favor, and the hand of God is rearranging every detail of your story. You are not forgotten, you are not delayed, and you are certainly not behind. You are standing in the middle of divine timing, the sacred intersection where preparation meets manifestation. Every invisible move, every quiet confirmation, every moment of faith has brought you to this very point. You've endured the breaking, the waiting, and the uncertainty, but now the evidence is rising, the old chapter is closing, and a new one is emerging, one written in favor, restoration, and elevation. You don't need to chase what's already yours. You only need to align with it. The law of divine reversal is active. The power of faith is ignited, and the unseen is working relentlessly to make visible what was promised to you. So lift your head and steady your heart. The mountain that once looked immovable is shifting. The doors that were sealed are opening. The same energy that once resisted you is now bowing to your purpose. This is your moment, your confirmation, your turning point. You are no longer waiting for change. Everything is turning in your favor, and soon what you believed in faith will be standing before you in form. Walk boldly into this new season, knowing that heaven has already gone before you. The shift is not coming, it has already begun. Thank you for listening, and remember, your time is now. The shift is here, and nothing can stop what God has already set in motion. My beloved, sometimes we ask God for a sign, not realizing that the very breath in our lungs is the sign. Every heartbeat testifies that heaven is still invested in your story. You may have thought God was silent, but lately something shifted. A door cracked open. A conversation happened at the right moment. A delay suddenly made sense. That wasn't coincidence, that was proof. God just showed you that He never left you. He showed you that what seemed like disappointment was actually redirection. Every closed door was a divine detour to a better destination. Everything is working in your favor, even the things that seemed to break you. You see, the spiritual world operates by revelation, not sight. God's proof is not always loud. It's often a whisper in your soul, a peace that makes no sense, a quiet knowing that this time it's different. That's how heaven speaks. The very fact that you are still standing, still believing, still expecting, that's divine evidence that your story isn't over. You are walking proof that God's word cannot fail. When your mind says it's impossible, God says, look again. Look beyond what's visible. The situation hasn't changed yet because the lesson hasn't completed its purpose. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It's proof that something holy is taking shape. You prayed, and maybe it seemed nothing happened. But look closer. People who once walked away are now thinking of you again. Opportunities that were frozen are now thawing. The atmosphere around you feels lighter. That's not random, that's divine timing revealing itself in subtle ways. You have entered a divine shift, the season where God confirms what He already promised. The delay was never a denial, it was the polishing of your faith, preparing you to handle what's coming. Do not let your senses deceive you. The invisible proof is greater than the visible facts. What God whispered in your spirit is more real than what the world shouts at you. Everything that appeared lost is being realigned. The people who misunderstood you are about to see why it all had to happen this way. The favor you thought you missed was not lost. It was merely reserved for a better moment. Right now, God is showing you proof that your prayers were not in vain, your tears were not wasted, and your faith has not been ignored. Heaven has already issued the command for your release. The shift you sense, that's not imagination. That's manifestation in motion. So lift your eyes. Take this as confirmation. Everything is working in your favor. Not one detail of your life is out of divine order. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was secretly building your destiny. God has just shown you proof, and your only response now is gratitude, because what's coming next won't just be good, it will be proof that God was with you the entire time. Proof is always born in the unseen before it takes form in the seen. Long before your hands can touch it, your heart must perceive it. What God reveals within you, that quiet conviction, that whisper of assurance, that image of fulfillment impressed upon your spirit, is not imagination. It is divine evidence. Heaven always releases spiritual proof before physical manifestation. The invisible realm is the womb of creation, and faith is the bridge that brings the unseen into reality. When God plants a vision, a promise, or a deep knowing within you, it's not a dream meant to tease your hope. It's the first stage of manifestation. The inner revelation is the true proof that something already exists in divine order, waiting to be made visible. Everything you see in the physical world was once unseen, a thought, a word, an idea breathed from the invisible into the visible. That is the way of divine creation. The material world is a shadow of the spiritual. What is formed on the inside must eventually take shape on the outside. But here's where many lose faith. They doubt the inner proof because the outer world hasn't caught up yet. They say, I'll believe it when I see it. But that is not the language of faith. That is the language of the world. God's proof does not appear as evidence your senses can measure. It comes as a knowing your spirit cannot deny. The peace that suddenly covers you in chaos, the unexplainable assurance that your breakthrough is near, that is proof. It's not always loud, but it's real. And those who trust it, those who walk by it, become witnesses to its manifestation. When your inner world changes, your outer world must eventually conform. You cannot carry divine revelation and remain in limitation. What God reveals within you has creative power. It shapes your beliefs, your emotions, your actions, and those in turn reshape your world. The unseen evidence within becomes the magnet that pulls the seen into alignment. That's why protecting your inner vision is so important. Doubt is a thief that tries to steal your proof before it's visible. When you let external circumstances dictate your faith, you cut off the flow of divine manifestation. Now, let's exhibit. You must learn to trust the unseen more than what you see. The world calls it foolishness, but heaven calls it faith. Every promise fulfilled began as something invisible. A word spoken in prayer, a thought of victory, a picture held in the heart. The proof is already in your spirit. Every time you feel that inner assurance rise, even when nothing has changed outside, you are witnessing divine movement. The manifestation may still be forming, but the reality of it already exists within you. The hold to what God showed you. Do not let time, appearances, or fear make you question the spiritual proof He placed inside. The unseen evidence is not waiting to become real. It is real, waiting to be recognized. The moment you believe that what you carry inside is greater than what stands before you, the world around you begins to rearrange itself in obedience to that unseen truth. Proof is spiritual before it's physical, because in God's order, the invisible always precedes the visible. There are moments in life when silence feels heavy, when heaven seems still, prayers echo unanswered, and time stands still. Yet in those quiet stretches, divine orchestration is at work. What looks like inactivity is actually precision. God is not absent, He is aligning. The silence of God is never the absence of movement. It is the sound of unseen coordination, the quiet hum of purpose weaving itself into the details of your life. Even when nothing appears to change, heaven is adjusting everything to ensure your outcome aligns with divine intent. Every delay, every closed door, every unexpected turn is being used to build a path that will carry you into destiny. The human mind often mistakes stillness for stagnation, but the Spirit knows that God moves most powerfully in ways the eye cannot detect. Behind the curtain of your circumstances, divine hands are arranging people, timing, and opportunities in ways that defy human logic. Think of an orchestra before a performance, every instrument tuning quietly, every musician preparing in silence. There is no music yet, but the harmony is being prepared. That is what divine orchestration looks like. The stage of your life may seem dark, but God is setting the lights, placing the right people in position, and preparing your entrance. When the time is right, every sound, every movement, every connection will come together in perfect harmony. You may be praying for change and hearing nothing in response. But silence is not God's rejection, it is His strategy. The silence is where He secures what you cannot see. If He were to reveal everything too soon, it would break before it could bless you. So He hides His movements in ordinary days. A conversation you almost missed, a delay that forced you to wait, a rejection that redirected you, none of it is wasted. The unseen hand of God is positioning you for a fulfillment greater than you imagined. When you cannot trace His hand, You must trust his heart. The same God who painted galaxies without sound is the one arranging your future with the same quiet power. He does not need to announce his plans to prove his presence. He simply moves silently, precisely, lovingly, until all things fall into place. This is why patience is an act of faith. To wait is not to be idle, it is to stand still while heaven works on your behalf. Every prayer you have prayed has been heard. Every tear you have cried has been counted. The timing you question is the timing that protects you. What feels delayed is often divine preservation. There will come a moment when everything will suddenly make sense. The puzzle pieces that seemed random will reveal the picture of purpose. You will look back and realize that God never stopped working. He was simply working in ways too deep to see. Divine orchestration is silent but certain. When nothing seems to move, that is when God is moving most. His silence is not stillness, it is the sacred rhythm of heaven arranging everything in your favor. Faith has a language the natural mind cannot speak. It hears what others ignore, and it sees meaning where others see nothing at all. To the ordinary eye, events may appear random. A phone call that came at the right time, a delay that kept you from harm, a stranger offering a word you needed to hear. But faith knows better. Faith interprets what sight cannot. What others call coincidence, faith recognizes as confirmation. Every moment carries divine fingerprints for the one whose heart is tuned to listen. God rarely speaks through thunder and spectacle. More often, he whispers through alignment. When faith is alive within you, it becomes the lens through which life is interpreted. Faith teaches you that nothing is accidental. You begin to see that the conversation that stirred your heart, the obstacle that redirected your path, even the silence that tested your patience, all of it was part of a greater orchestration. Faith reveals that the universe, under divine command, is constantly signaling that God is near and working. When you walk in faith, small details begin to speak loudly. A word from Scripture suddenly glows with new meaning. A door closes, and instead of despair, you feel peace, because faith interprets it as protection. A delay that once frustrated you becomes a sign of divine timing. Faith transforms confusion into clarity because it knows that life under divine direction does not unfold by chance. This is why people who live by faith seem to move with a different calm. They no longer chase proof, they recognize it. They don't demand signs from heaven because they already see signs everywhere. Faith redefines how you perceive your world. It lifts you above the surface and allows you to discern the purpose behind events. You begin to sense that the path is being guided, even if you can't yet see the destination. Faith doesn't need the full picture to believe. It only needs a glimpse. One word, one nudge, one open door is enough for faith to say, "This is confirmation." The car that wouldn't start and kept you home from an accident, the missed opportunity that led to something better, the peace that came after prayer, these are divine signals. Faith doesn't dismiss them as coincidence, it celebrates them as communication. God never leaves his children without direction. But his language is subtle. He speaks through patterns, timings, and inner witness. Only faith can translate that language. Without faith, you will call it luck. With faith, you will call it purpose. So when things align in ways too precise to explain, when peace rises where it shouldn't, when people appear in your life at the exact right moment, Know that these are not random. Faith is interpreting the signs for you. The hand of God is moving, confirming that your steps are ordered, your prayers are heard, and your path is blessed. What others call coincidence, you must call confirmation. Faith recognizes what the eyes alone cannot see, that every moment is a message, every alignment is proof, and every sign is heaven saying, I am with you. Everything in your life begins within you. The condition of your inner world shapes the reality of your outer experience. When your heart aligns with divine assurance, when your spirit rests in the certainty that all things are working for your good, the external world has no choice but to reflect that inner truth. The universe responds to the vibration of your inner belief. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The heart that lives in peace creates peace around it. The mind that trusts divine order experiences order in the physical realm. Every outcome begins as an inner state, a thought, a feeling, a conviction. When you live in anxiety, the world mirrors chaos. When you live in faith, the world mirrors favor. This is the law of divine alignment. The outer world is not your enemy or your judge. It is your mirror. It cannot produce what is not first established in your consciousness. That is why God works on the heart before He changes the situation. Transformation begins within. Once your inner world is healed, balanced, and assured, everything outside begins to rearrange itself to match that inner harmony. Divine assurance is not mere optimism. It is a deep knowing that comes from connection with the source, the awareness that the unseen is more powerful than the seen. When your heart is aligned with this assurance, you cease striving and start allowing. You no longer chase outcomes, you attract them through your inner certainty. Your peace becomes magnetic. The doors that once resisted you begin to open because your energy now matches the promise you have created for. Many people try to change their circumstances without changing their consciousness. They fight shadows, not realizing that the real work happens in the light of the heart. You can speak all the right words, but if your inner belief contradicts your declarations, nothing moves. Creation listens to conviction, not confusion. When your inner world and your outer expression agree, the result becomes inevitable. This is why prayer, meditation, and stillness are powerful. They bring your inner state back into alignment with divine truth. You begin to remember that you are not separate from the source that created you. As your inner assurance grows, fear loses its grip, doubt dissolves, and your life begins to flow with divine rhythm. You stop reacting to the world and start creating through your awareness. The moment you choose peace within, situations that once disturbed you lose power. The moment you choose gratitude, lack begins to disappear. The moment you choose faith, impossibilities begin to bow. The world is not fixed, it is fluid, bending to the state of your consciousness. So guard your inner atmosphere. Fill it with belief, gratitude, and divine assurance. Speak from peace, not panic. Expect good, not struggle. For when your heart lives in harmony with divine truth, the outer world becomes its reflection. Everything you experience will start to mirror the assurance you hold within. Because the power that shapes your life is not around you, it is within you. Delay is one of life's greatest teachers, though it often arrives disguised as disappointment. We see waiting as a sign that God has forgotten us, but in truth, it is proof that He is preparing us. Delay is not denial, it is divine alignment. When God appears to be silent, He is working with precision, orchestrating details you cannot yet see. The waiting period is not a punishment. It is the sacred space where strength, wisdom, and capacity are formed. God never withholds, He perfects. Every promise carries a process. Before fulfillment comes formation. You cannot receive what your heart is not yet ready to hold. Many times, God delays not because He wants to deny you, but because He loves you too much to release something prematurely. A blessing given too early can become a burden, but when the heart is prepared, the same blessing becomes a platform. The waiting season refines your character so that when the promise arrives, you will not lose it through immaturity or haste. The delay you face is not wasted time, it is divine time. While you wait, heaven is aligning the right people, opportunities, and conditions that will support your destiny. If one element is out of place, the entire design would crumble. God delays because He is constructing something perfect, not temporary relief, but lasting manifestation. And while He works around you, He also works within you. Every moment of waiting deepens your faith, tests your patience, and strengthens your trust. In the silence, you learn to rely not on signs, but on assurance. You learn that God's timing is not measured by your calendar, but by your readiness. You begin to realize that your prayers were answered long ago. You are simply walking toward the moment when what is spiritual becomes visible. The delay is not about God catching up, it's about you growing up into the version of yourself that can carry the blessing. When you look back, you will see that the delay was mercy. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, they were all pieces of divine protection, not rejection. If those things had arrived before you were prepared, they would have distracted you from purpose. God's delays are filled with wisdom. They teach you endurance, patience, and spiritual vision. They remind you that faith is not proven by how fast you receive, but by how steadfastly you believe. So do not despise the waiting season. Heaven is not ignoring you, it is perfecting you. Trust that every day of delay is a day of design. The moment you are aligned with what you ask for, manifestation will not hesitate. What once felt like a standstill will suddenly reveal itself as acceleration, and you will say, "Now I see why I had to wait." Because when it finally arrives, you will realize it came at the perfect time, in the perfect way, through the perfect plan. Delay was never denial, it was divine preparation for a greater release. Manifestation reaches its fulfillment the moment you recognize what God has already done. Recognition is not a passive act, it is spiritual participation. When you recognize God's proof, the subtle signs, the quiet shifts, the answered prayers that don't yet look complete, you activate completion. Awareness is the seal of manifestation. Until something is acknowledged, it remains spiritually dormant. Recognition is the key that unlocks what heaven has already delivered. God's blessings often arrive disguised as ordinary moments. The answer to your prayer may appear in a conversation, a closed door, or an unexpected opportunity. Yet many miss it because they are still looking for something dramatic or supernatural. Recognition requires spiritual perception, the ability to see beyond appearances and perceive divine fingerprints in daily life. When your awareness awakens to what God is doing, you release gratitude, and gratitude completes what faith began. Every manifestation begins with belief, grows through patience, and is sealed by recognition. You can have faith and still miss fulfillment if you fail to recognize that the promise has already begun to unfold. God works in layers. He often reveals the beginning of the answer while still forming the rest. Recognition says, I see the hand of God here, even if the picture isn't finished. The moment you say that, you step out of striving and into receiving. Awareness is alignment. When you acknowledge that God's proof is already before you, you stop vibrating with lack and start vibrating with fulfillment. The universe mirrors that awareness. Doors that were stuck begin to move, people who were distant start to appear, resources begin to flow. The outer world responds to inner recognition because recognition shifts your frequency from asking to accepting. Think of the 10 lepers who were healed. Only one returned to recognize and give thanks. He was made whole, not just healed. The others received a partial manifestation, but recognition brought completion. That's the power of awareness. Gratitude is not only appreciation, it is spiritual recognition that seals what God has already done. When you see and acknowledge His proof, you declare to heaven, I believe the work is finished, and heaven responds with manifestation. Many people continue praying for what they already have because they fail to recognize its beginning. They wait for the visible miracle while ignoring the quiet evidence of progress. But God's ways are subtle. He will often let you sense the shift before you see the result, testing whether you can perceive before you possess. Recognition is that test. When you choose to see proof where others see delay, you accelerate completion. Your awareness is creative power. It transforms potential into reality. The more you notice divine movement, the more it multiplies. This is how spiritual law operates. What you recognize, you realize. So open your eyes to what God has already done. Look again. The blessing is not coming, it has begun. When you recognize His proof, you complete the manifestation. Awareness seals the promise, and the moment you truly see it, heaven declares it is finished. Everything you've been walking through has been leading you to this understanding that God has never stopped working in your favor. The proof was never far away. It was within you, around you, and unfolding all along. Every delay, every silence, every subtle sign was part of a divine pattern designed for your good. Now you can rest, knowing that what God began in you is already in motion toward completion. Trust the unseen, recognize the proof, and stay aligned with divine assurance. You are standing in the middle of a divine orchestration, and everything, absolutely everything, is working in your favor. Thank you for listening to this message. May it remind you that you are not waiting for miracles, you are living in them. Stay faithful, stay aware, and watch how God turns every detail of your life into undeniable proof of His perfect plan.